Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara, and I have a couple more Mother's Day projects. Pretty simple to do. So what I did was I went to the thrift stores, looked for some really pretty teacup sets, and I'm using Gorilla Glue epoxy to put these together so that they hold, and we're going to make little bird feeders out of them. When you're using epoxy, you want to make sure to have a really ventilated area and also use gloves, and that will protect your skin and your lungs from the harmful fumes and stuff. So I had my fan going and my window open at this time. And I'm just putting a good size bead around the bottom of the teacup, and then I'm going to place it on the plate and let those sit overnight. And I love epoxy because it hardens so well that I don't have to worry about it ever coming apart. And so I had just these three and then three designs anyway, and I made 6 of them, but it's a good little Mother's Day gift. And the second one is a Lazy Susan. I find that they're always a really good gift for Mother's Day. And you can see that I tried after cleaning it, it had still a lot of gunk on it, so I had to get my 60 grit sandpaper to get all of that stuff off of there before I could paint it. I'm going to go in with Fusion's Coal Black, and I did do 2 coats because this first coat was pretty thinned out, so I wanted to make sure there was not a lot of brush strokes and stuff, so I made it really thin. And so 2 coats covered it well, and then I'm going to go in with my redesign with Prima transfer called Sunflower and put a really pretty design on the top. And then I will make sure to seal the transfer with some Big Top by DIY. And so whenever you have a transfer, it comes on a backing, and you take the white backing off. You use the little tool that they give you with the transfer. You're going to place it down. You're going to use your tool to kind of push down the transfer onto your project. And I always lift up that paper, that clear paper, put my fingers underneath and help guide it. And I'm not pushing very hard at all. It's just enough to get that transfer to stick to my paint and continue to lift up. And then once I get that all lifted off of there, I'm going to use that clear paper to burnish in the transfer into the Lazy Susan, and that way it'll have less wrinkles. But I always use my heat gun to help get any other wrinkles out that might not have come out with the burnishing. So here's that DIY Big Top. It's a sealer, and even though the Fusion paint has its own sealer, I do need to seal the top of this transfer because obviously if it's a Lazy Susan, some people might put it on their table, use it with the napkin holder, salt and pepper shakers, things like that. So there's going to be a lot of movement on this, and so I want to make sure it's nice and sealed and is very durable. And the third and final project for today is a table. This is a table that my uncle and aunt spotted for me over in their Value Village in Issaquah. So when I went over and visited, I was able to pick this up. And I believe, I can't remember, but it was like just under $20, I think. Might have been around 15. Great little table. And I just, of course, don't like the color. So I cleaned it all up with my TSP Fusion before I started. And now I'm going to go in with Fusion's Raw Silk. And of course, whenever you're doing a light color over a dark object, it's going to take quite a few coats. So this actually took me 4 coats to get complete coverage, but I did very, very thin coats. I used my mist sprayer to thin down the paint, and the reason I do that is to have less brush strokes. So once you thin it out, then it also dries faster, and so it has the less brush strokes visible and just makes it a lot nicer of a finish. So after I get the 4 coats on, I did let it dry very thoroughly, and then we're going to go in with the transfer to put around the sides and the drawers. And then for the top, I'm going to do a little bit of a different technique. We're going to kind of do a Pottery Barn look, and I'm going to be using some of the Fusion stain and finishing oil, and that will be in the color Cappuccino. And I'm going to give it kind of like a wood grain look finish to it. So you can see I used my sprayer, my mist sprayer, and when I put the paint on, I start in the middle and work out to the ends. And then I want nice long brush strokes all the way across, and that's going to give us that nice even finish. It does have some of the self-leveling in there, so if you do it thin enough, then it can level itself out. Make that smooth satin finish. You don't want to overwork the paint because it can dry and then get kind of clumpy, so just make sure you're doing those even coats and try not to overwork it. So here's that cappuccino color. Sorry, it's kind of blurry. But what I'm doing is I'm taking a chippy brush and I'm just putting a little bit of the cappuccino on the ends, and then I'm going to work it in and make it look like it has some wood grain texture to it. Once I get a nice even coat, I'm going to let it sit for a little bit, probably about a half an hour. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and then just wipe away the excess. And here, if you don't like the first coat, if it's too light, you can go ahead and continue adding more coats as long as you let them dry in between. So now that I've got that where I want it, we're going to go ahead and start with the Vintage Rustic transfer from Prima. And same thing, just take the backing off, place it where you want it, lightly push that little tool down and lift with your finger underneath, and that will get that design right down onto that project there. Makes it nice and easy. I did speed this up, but this didn't take me hardly any time at all. It just came right off, so that was kind of nice. And I did make sure to let it dry for a good 2 hours before putting on this transfer. I have had in the past where I got too anxious and started it, and then it pulls up the paint from the project if you don't let it dry long enough. So make sure to take that advice from me so you're not ruining your transfers. And then I am just kind of piecing the pieces together. This was an ongoing transfer, so it's a continuation of what I was looking for. So I just had to find the right pieces. And then just put those on and then burnish it like I always do with my little paper first. And I am kind of going down in between, so I took my little razor knife to cut the piece there by where the drawer opens. And just gonna finish up, and then I'm also gonna wrap around the design on both of the sides. And then I don't know if you guys saw, but where those little columns are on the sides of the table and at the feet, I did add some of that cappuccino stain just to kind of get into the grooves and the cracks and make that detail stand out a little bit more. And I did go in my stash and picked out a couple of handles that fit this just perfectly. And I only had two, so that was, I guess, just meant to be. Place those back on, and then I did use the Fusion Clear Wax to wax on the transfer. And then that project was complete. So I love this little table. I think it turned out beautiful. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into the booth, and hopefully this weekend for Mother's Day, someone will want to take it home with them. Let me know what your guys' favorite was for this week, and I think that table just turned out gorgeous, so that's definitely going to be mine. But I love these little bird feeders, and I hope you all have a happy Mother's Day and have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you back here on Tuesday for some more flips. Take care. Bye.